All right, well, let's get to it because right now the Miami Heat are bludgeoning the Detroit Pistons. After they scored 69 points in the first half, and pretty much,
Nice.
I mean, nobody of great significance. I don't want to say that. That sounds mean, but a lot of players were out tonight. Okay, let's just put it this way: 4 out of 5 starters, all but Duncan Robinson, who really only played because they wanted to get him to 72 games on the season and to extend his 3-point streak. The other 4 starters did not play. Also sitting Goran Dragic and Andre Iguodala. So a lot of guys did not play tonight, but it looks like the Heat are going to at least finish the season with 40 wins. They'll be 40-32. The big news today, though, one, Chris Bosh elected to the Hall of Fame. I did a video on that on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. We also covered that on Before Floor on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel. And the other bit of news is the Nets won as expected against Cleveland, even though they sat James Harden, which locked the Miami Heat into the 6th seed against the Milwaukee. They were already locked into it, but locked the Milwaukee Bucks into the 3 seed against the Miami Heat at 6. The Knicks were challenged, but won. And so they will be in the 4-5 matchup against Atlanta. So we know now that the Heat are playing the Bucks. Of course, they played them in the second round last year. They won 4-1, Heat in 5, all that good stuff. This is a different Bucks team. We are not going to focus on the Heat and Bucks today. We've got a week to get to that. We will cover all of that with a whole bunch of different guests during this week. We'll cover down every bit of this matchup, but we got a week to kill. We're going to look back a little bit. We're going to try to put this season into some perspective. Greg has compiled 5 key points from this year that were narratives. We're going to touch on kind of where those things went and also where they are as the playoffs stand. So number 1 on your list, and it was number 1 on my list, was Jimmy Butler. And here's the key thing about this. The Miami Heat were 14 games over 500 this year when Jimmy Butler played. He just didn't play enough. And they were awful when he didn't play. So I'll start here. Was this Jimmy Butler's best season, Greg? And where do you put him as we enter the playoffs in terms of players that should be feared around the NBA?
That's interesting. So I'll say it is due to the efficiency and the things that he's doing defensively, the way that he's just breaking things up all year long. That it's probably his most well-rounded season. He's had some offensive punch seasons that you just can't deny that were, really prolific, but this is his most well-rounded season, career highs across the board in a lot of really SPO-driven categories, I'll call them. And for me personally, like when I look around the league, it doesn't even really matter what fans think or what Twitter thinks or what the media thinks or the gas bag national media dudes. Like, I think if you polled the players around the league about like, who do you want to go into a 7-game series with and you have confidence about, Jimmy Butler's on the short list. Like, I feel like, there's obviously the Brons and the KDs and I won't unpack the whole list for the purposes of this show, but Jimmy's on the short list. So I don't know where I would put him in a ranking. I'm not going to do it that way, but there is no doubt that like he is, as you have continued to say on 5 on the Floor, way better than the Heat or anyone else expected. And I just think that it is paramount that they figure out a way to make another run with him because he's just awesome.
To me, there's no doubt about it. This was Jimmy Butler's most impressive, at least regular season. Like, even though he missed all the games, the actual stuff that he did on the court, to me, was not only his most well-rounded, because he showed this last year, obviously, but the way that he did it, where he just kind of controls games, he plays at his own pace always. And it's obvious when the team is without him that they're just not the same team. And it runs through him and his attitude and his leadership. And it's a real thing. Like, I know it's not technically quantifiable statistically, but it's obvious when the team is without him. It's just a hugely different story. When he's on the court, he's one of the best guys at, when it comes to rim pressure, and that's severely missed when he's not playing, especially because Goran can't do it consistently anymore. And he's awesome at getting to the line, an awesome playmaker, an awesome defender. And he's done it at an extremely efficient level this year, despite all the kind of, polarizing circumstances. And, it wasn't a great season at all, despite a short turnaround from a great finals performance where he had to carry the team on his back over there too. Like, it's just a physical accomplishment, putting up his best season despite the circumstances.
I think the thing we need to put into context here too is something that Greg mentioned, which is that I think that the calculus for this team has changed and this franchise has changed because Jimmy is better than they thought he was. And that this all becomes about Jimmy Butler. I feel like that changed during the finals, where now there's a feeling that they owe it to Jimmy, that they have to bring in some additional help, that they can't rely on him to carry them. And I think we saw it wear on Jimmy at times this year in a way it didn't wear on him last year. Some frustration with some of the young players who disconnected. We'll talk about maybe one of them here probably in part 3 of this episode, but also some frustration, I think, at times that Bam, who we'll talk about in part 2, wasn't developing the alpha personality maybe quickly enough for Jimmy. Not to say that things are fractured. They're not. Not to say that Jimmy wants to leave the franchise. He doesn't. Not to say that Pat Riley has failed Jimmy Butler. He hasn't. Okay. None of that stuff. But I do think that the calculus has changed here in regard to, maybe at times during Dwayne's career that they didn't sort of act quickly enough. I think there was some regret about that. And now you don't have kind of the LeBron Bosch prospect in the back of your head like you did with Wade. You had it with Giannis. It doesn't exist anymore. The free agents are not there. And so now it does become, can we win one with him quickly and maybe with the guys he wants to win with? And that's where the Kyle Lowry conversation comes into play. And I don't think it's a bad thing, actually, as we look forward, which we're not going to do a ton tonight, that Kyle Lowry is going to miss the entire playoffs. I think that actually make him more attractive to the Heat in the
like
offseason.
That point.
That he's going to get some rest. He's literally, guys, he's gotten rest for the past 2 months. I mean, that
he was kind of banged up at the end. I mean, I know, not all the games were because he was injured, but we knew that they were kind of selling, but he's been banged up a little bit. I think it was something in his foot or his toe or something where I think he put some of that weight back on.
DeRozan will get some rest too.
Well,
right.
Well, he probably will after the play-in. So might Steph, but he's not really available. All right, so on point 1 here, Jimmy Butler, to me, it was his most complete season, even if he couldn't complete all the games. He career high in shooting percentage, career high in assists, career high in rebounds, career high in steals. And the only thing he wasn't a career high in was points, and that's not necessarily what they needed from him all the time. And also, maybe his best defensive season. Not that I've seen all of them, the way I saw this one, but certainly he played at an elite level defensively.